I'll throw this little add-on to the tree video. Maybe I'll post a little over there, probably down. The little video of trying to climb the tree, but got cut off because the batteries went dead on the little camera. But anyway, it's concept I might use. Anyway, so there'll just be walking path or something, some kind of video. Anyway, so Matt has also responded to Nick's video on the spirituality crap. And it's a good subject, and we really got to pound this one to death, so maybe I'll make 10 videos on this and just start dissecting every little bit of canard verbiage that Matt throws together. And so he's basically argued in the end of his video that we build ourselves, you know, and to contrast against how human beings make something by reading instructions. You know, they might have a little instruction book and they'll read the instructions and put something together, and somehow we do it differently, or we are created through a different process, and that's a pile of crap. We have a big, giant, huge DNA molecule in all of our cells, and that decides, that's the blueprint, and it's read by mechanical devices in the chemistry of cells that enable it to construct the parts. And yeah, it doesn't have a vision of the whole. It doesn't have a lot of the things that human beings have when they're reading instructions, but the end result is the same. Instructions are interpreted through a mechanical process, an intermediary, a builder, and he creates the finished product as the instructions indicate. And that's it. We don't build ourselves. We don't self-generate. We don't do any of that crap. It's a process of construction, just like building any other machine. Any other complexity in the universe is created in essence the same way, and it's all cause and effect in the end. So it is all deterministic in the end. You know, Matt even argues in his video that well, I don't have much time in this video, so I won't go into a whole bunch of stuff, but I mean, it's just such a ludicrous, you know, I mean, it's back to God has to entertain itself. God got bored, therefore it created a universe it couldn't control, so it would have a friend it didn't know, basically. I mean, because if it did all on purpose, then it would know what it's getting. So it had to somehow make it mystery meat, so it could be surprised and say, oh, look at the funky little humans I made. So what? I created something that spent billions of years, you know, basically just consuming and reproducing horrific carnage. I now have a playmate, but there's no evidence that God wants to play with us. Apparently he didn't like the finished product very much, and he really doesn't want to play with us. So I mean, that theory goes down the toilet. It's just nonsense. Dumb forces can create smart things. That can happen. Simple things can, simple mechanical processes can lead to complex results. So what? It's just the way the system works, unfortunately. That's the way matter works. But cause and effect is not a good enough reason. You have to put something behind the cause. You have to say there's a cause for the cause, a justification for instigating the whole sloppy mess. And that you're not going to find you're not going to find it logically. You're only going to find it, you know, as I've said many times before, by tying yourself to a unicorn or having a unicorn kick you in the head, so you become deluded and insane and illogical and irrational. Because that's all you can make it out of. You can only make purpose out of irrational nonsense. It's a deterministic universe. We're just playing out the mechanics. The mechanics are doing their thing, and we're the end result. It's for no end. Every bit of us, our desires, our drives, our ambitions, it's all a bunch of crap contrived to make us do certain things that were conducive to survival, consumption, and reproduction. That's the only game there is. Video from in a tree. I tried to take a picture of climbing the tree. I didn't climb very far. See, it's not very far. See, if only tree, maybe I have to not carry the camera as I'm trying to climb, because that's really tough. One arm climbing. So, I mean, look at my arms. It's all messed up. Scuffed it up pretty good. Anyway. Alright, subject for the video anyway. Let's see if I can not drop the camera. Subject. Yeah, Nick, the Minor Mystic, did kind of a quick little spirituality video. But it was basically the eye stuff again, you know, and that we can't take any credit for what our brain does, because it just does what it does. I mean, and that's, I don't disagree with that, but I don't think it hurts for us to reinforce good themes in our brain. I mean, yes, we will applaud ourselves when we do good, and we will, admonish ourselves when we're assholes or selfish or something else, and he says that's kind of just silly, but it's not really. I think it sort of fulfills the purpose of reinforcing the good and, discouraging the bad in terms of how our brain functions and conditions itself and processes and all that stuff. So it's sort of inevitable. So I don't see being unemotional about how you feel about yourself, even though yourself isn't really a product of anything you built. It sort of just got put upon you based on what you were exposed to and what you realized. So combining your native disposition with the environment you encounter, you're going to be what you are. You really can't not be you. And that's the bottom line. And it's all just a brain doing stuff. There's no person inside orchestrating. There's a brain functioning. And that's a good thing to reinforce, but I just don't know why he has to reinforce it in a kind of way that I think expresses that there's absolutely that disposition is always changing. You're born with a native disposition, you acquire knowledge through your life that changes your disposition. And it's just all about the power of positive thinking or the power of negative thinking or the power of some other kind of thinking. You really have to get hooked on some power. You have to be on some kind of track or you have to be heading down some sort of road to get to this end product, which is to create an ordered and logical and sensible human being in the end. And so I really just don't know how you can not, through that process, keep changing the disposition you're bringing to the world. I'm a different person in some ways than I was a week ago. I'm certainly a different person I was 30 years ago. Maybe not in every nuance, but certainly the disposition has changed. The capacity to hear, to listen, has changed. I hear a different tune or whatever. I can see things I couldn't have seen maybe 30 years ago. And so you kind of have to go with that flow. And there's good flows in your brain and bad flows in your brain. And you really do have to embrace and endorse the good ones if you plan on traveling those roads. So I guess I don't get his point entirely of why he has to talk almost as if we certainly don't have any control, but our thoughts are part of the process. Our feelings are part of the process of that conditioning, of that building. And so there's no reason to dismiss them because they are part of our deterministic path. And it's almost like Nick is projecting an influence that might be, I don't see anything constructive in it. I don't see anything accurate in it. Yeah, you should go with the idea of pride and self-satisfaction and ego, because those things will drive you to be a better person. They will. Those are necessary stops along the road. You have to have some sort of realization of your obligations and some capacity to, some desire, to meet them. So whatever. I guess I just don't get his point. I understand not defining this as something that's not built out of the parts. I mean, it is the parts. There's no me technically. There's the sum of my brain activity. And but I don't entirely get saying that we don't have to go through these steps, these emotional steps, to get to what might be called enlightenment or a broader, bigger understanding or all that stuff. There's steps to get there, and you have to acknowledge certain things about yourself. So yes, acknowledge that you are just a brain, completely dependent on outside influences and your native disposition. but also recognize that words can only mean something when you're prepared to hear them. And to get to that state, you have to go through certain thought processes. So yeah, you really have to have an ego to make for the brain to function. So I just don't see, whatever. I just don't get it, Nick. I don't get the point. Anyway, so this is the tree video. Tree up there, not much down there. That's, like I said, didn't get very high. But anyway, it's high enough. It's 10 feet, right? It's the first tree in a while. Non-working tree, anyway. Alright, until next time. Just a real kind of throwaway video, just tree practice. The dumb things brains do. Yeah, this is one of the dumber things my brain thought of.